Yeah, welcome to this video, round 7 of the candidates in London, and as announced 2 days ago, I am on site and did watch this round live. Yeah, it was very nice to to not only have a webcam or something to watch, but to really be there. And I always like to visit those events if possible. It's unfortunately in Germany you don't have that much of a chance to do that. And okay, this is really an outstanding tournament, so it's great to be here and to have a look at the players. I also never saw a couple of those guys live. I've seen some of them live, but not Carlsen, for example. And it's really interesting thing to watch that if you enter the playing hall and the players are seated, it's 4 minutes or 5 minutes until the round starts, and there are maybe 20 guys from the press doing photos, and 19 of 20 are making pictures of Carlsen. They simply ignore all the other guys. Really, they do the odd photo, but it's like 90% of attention is on him. So this is also something you need to take into account. He's got all these things to handle in addition. Of course, he gets paid well for all this, but still, some other guys who are not much weaker in terms of chess, they don't have those obligations to talk to the press and whatever. Okay, still I want to do a video, and I often announce that the videos are planned to be shorter, and at the end I'll do again a 1 hour thing, but I really hope this will be shorter because I'm so tired. I needed to get up really early, get the flight and so on. So let's see what happened today. We have got Ivanchuk against Svidler. Let's go through all the games, and I'll do this really quickly. We have a Scotch opening. In my e4, e5 repertoire series, I recommended this offbeat move, which I still like. But of course, in those super high level tournaments, they play the mainstream openings and the mainstream lines. And this line is very reliable, of course. Yeah, Ivanchuk took on c6 and played e5, the most ambitious line here. Queen to e7. This is important. It's less good to move the knight so that it can be kicked again. This queen e7 forces white on a bad square with his own queen, and this allows, after knight d5, c4, this pinning move, bishop a6. It's been a really long debate if this move is better or bishop a6 is better. At the moment, bishop a6 is the more fashionable move. Yeah, g3, g6. Black wants to play bishop to g7 and attack the pawn, and white needs to protect this. This is why he went b3 and bishop b2. And now long castles. Black can also castle short. There's more than one interesting line. And now bishop to g2. What was really crazy that Ivanchuk spent like, look, oh, I need to take it back. Look at this, 1 hour 48, and then he took like 40 minutes for this move, which is really crazy in a way, because this is all known theory, and for some reason he took ages to play this move. Svidler also took a while for rook e8. I think one point why Ivanchuk thought so long maybe was that somehow he hadn't anticipated this line, and he sort of knew what was coming and tried to find some alternative, but failed. Yeah, well, rook e8, this attacks e5 for the third time, and white cannot really protect it. A move like f4, for instance, runs into f6, and well, look at this. The problem is that white is much behind in development. He's still got this knight on its initial square, and he hasn't castled yet. So white needs to quickly get out of the center. And now black took e5. And this is a forced line now. We have an exchange on e5 and c takes d5. So a quite uncommon early material transformation where after bishop takes a rook, retakes, white recaptured, and black took on d5. Also, let's put this on the board. Black's got a rook and 2 pawns, no, not d6, 2 pawns against 2 minor pieces. So from a purely mathematical point of view, black is okay. And the problem of this this endgame in general here is it's very, very difficult for both sides to do anything. The problem is white simply, yeah, he's 2 pawns down on the queen side. He needs to watch black's pawns and tries to attack them, maybe winning one of them. This is the only way to make progress. Win one of the pawns, and black must be cautious that he doesn't lose one of the pawns, and if that is happening, there's simply not much to play for. It's possible that Ivanchuk somehow stumbled into this and tried on the way to find something else to fight. He's a fighter, but sometimes you simply don't get the positions. Here it's simply very difficult for both sides to make any progress. And Svidler also didn't have so much choice. He needed to take on e5. Yeah, well, they played a couple of moves. Oops. Sorry. And basically this is just shuffling around. And here draw agreed. It's a 30 move rule, so they cannot agree before that. Yeah, I can assure you that this endgame is very difficult to do anything with. I had played this some time ago in a correspondence game and with black, and I analyzed it in some depth. It's simply very, very difficult to get anything with both colors, so the draw is a rather logical result. Okay, next game, Gelfand Kramnik. Kramnik certainly needs to win at some point a game, otherwise he's out of it, but black against Gelfand is of course not easy. Yeah, Gelfand allows the Nimzo. He also plays knight f3 and g3, but we got a Nimzo, and we got the Rubinstein, the Karpov variation. This Kramnik already had played against Radjabov, where he had a quite convenient position, which still ended in a draw. Of course, this is solid and very well playable for black. It's still difficult to do anything in terms of winning chances. I think Kramnik played a rather interesting setup. Let's see, everything's normal here. And now he played queen to b8, and this is a new idea. At least everyone at this on-site agreed that it is a new idea. I didn't check it now with the database, but they all said it is new. Kramnik also and Gelfand also, so they should know a bit or two about this. Yeah, queen b8. That's quite interesting. The idea is after here that black is attacking the bishop and threatening this here, damaging the pawn structure. If white play such a nothing move, you can take here and now must take with the pawn because this is hanging. Of course, white doesn't want his pawn structure to be damaged, so bishop d3 was played, and now bishop d6. An interesting move, attacking h2 simply. Very simple, but it's effective. Black is threatening to take here and to take here, and Gelfand didn't find anything better than g3, which looks a bit ugly, doing this kind of shadow move with the bishop on d3. It weakens this knight's position and the king side, but it's still not much happening. a6 to control b5 square, and now Gelfand took on f6 and centralized the knight. He simply wanted to wrap the game up and play a draw, I think. With this g3 and so on, it's not like white can do much. Here black, in fact, could easily draw the game. I mean, this is really drawish. With rook c7 at some point, we've got opposite colored bishops, and there's simply nothing happening. So this Kramnik would have played, I think, in some other circumstances. Here he wanted to fight, and strangely enough, instead of a normal move, he came up with, okay, he took there first. Okay, here it's this position. Here, in fact, Gelfand could have taken on f6, but after f5, this seems fine for black. In the commentary room, I actually made this suggestion, but it is not so great. Black has got this important move, which covers this, and you can just cover here. It's nothing happening. Okay, he just took on c1, and this is the position I was getting at. Here black can play all kinds of simple things. He can take here and draw, or he can play some other simple strengthening move like bishop d5, for example, which is after this a position where black can easily play on. At least he can fight. He, however, played the move knight to e8, and in fact Kramnik, after the game, when he learned what now was possible, he couldn't really explain why he played knight e8. I think one reason was simply to avoid the draw. He wanted to fight in some way. The problem is that now Gelfand could have won the game just like that, with knight f to g5. And I mean, it's not exactly rocket science to see that it is dangerous. I mean, Gelfand also saw it. They had a press conference and so on, but there was some miscalculation. He mainly looked at the other knight move, which is interesting also, just attacking here, h6, and here he calculated bishop g6, and he spent lots of time on this, and this is actually working. But on knight to g5, this knight, yeah, this is actually also good. Now that I look at it, what is black doing? This is working. Yeah, he saw some ghost. I'm not quite sure. I cannot exactly recollect the press conference, but he saw some problems with those moves. This is also very strong. This is what we analyzed in the commentary room. h6 and queen h5, attacking f7. And what is black supposed to do now? You can take, but now this is really a lot. Yeah, h7, f7, and now there's multiple ways. This is also excellent, but the simplest is this. And b7 is also hanging. Black has no way to defend this and this, b7 and g7. So in this position, both knight moves would have been excellent. This is outright winning, and this is at least dangerous. However, in the game, he played this, which really produced a really loud, disappointing noise from the commentators. because they were really looking forward to do this, to continue with this attacking possibilities. Yeah, and after this, there's simply nothing. The rest of the game was basically a trade of all pieces. Down to a king and pawn endgame even, which is dead though. It's simply nothing to do. You can always have a look at these endgames. Sometimes there are some tricks involved, but here the king and pawn endgame is just nothing. All right. So next game, Aronian against Grischuk. Queen's Indian, and in fact the classical line here was g3 and bishop to b7. This has been played really many times. Here the most common move is actually rook c1 or queen c2. Quite surprisingly, Aronian plays knight e5 here. He has played this before, I'm pretty sure, but it's a bit of a special move for him. Like can exchange two pairs of minor pieces now, and this is actually something that should be something that black welcomes, but it didn't really materialize. Here c5, knight back, and this happened. Yeah, and now black cannot really take on d4. This looks to a very one-sided kind of position, with just rook d1 coming, rook d1, rook d2, just a lot of pressure on d7. This is why Grischuk went back to e7, prevented that. And here Aronian played this interesting maneuver, just attacking the pawn on g7, and yeah, what black cannot play g6. This looks simply too loose on the long diagonal. This is what he must play. It's not clear that this is so great actually. We've got a bit of a weak bishop on e7. But this is a counterplay. Grischuk aims for some counter attack, maybe with f4 at some point. And black has got quite some influence on the center. The problem for white is it's a nice structure with this weakness here, but those two pieces are simply useless. The knight on f3 is ages away from d5, and it really wants to go to d5, and the bishop is completely useless. I think he played this really well now. b4, intending c5, and after king h8, he really went for it with d5, setting up at least some problems for Grischuk. With slow play, it wouldn't have amount to much anyway. So takes, and e4. The idea was that if black takes with the knight, you can take here and get a position which favors white because of the better pawn structure. e4 is what Grischuk played. This is also stronger. Knight d4 and knight c5. So the knight on c5 covers this vulnerable e6 square. Knight to b5, queen b6, and queen c4. And here there was quite some optimism about white's chances in the analysis room, and I must say I also was pretty optimistic about Aronian's chances here, but somehow Grischuk managed to keep this position together. As usual, he's down on time, we know. That's okay. Of course, he also could have played knight d5, playing more with compensation, not trying to get a pawn back. This was also an interesting alternative, maybe stronger. This knight a4 was maybe a bit too simplistic. As we see now, black can exchange some pieces, and it still looks good for white. I mean, this is weak, this is a weakness. Yeah, but okay, black's got an extra pawn, and it takes a while to get it back, and white needs to get it back at some point. a5. Yeah, making some room for the king. And black is looking for counterplay on the king side. f4 was an important move to get something on white's king. Yeah, now white really must be careful a bit with this f3 pawn somewhat obstructing the king position. This is the important maneuver. The bishop to e5 will have a very stable position there, and there's maybe ideas to get some attack as black. The time was now really low for Grischuk, but he managed to keep it together. And here he's got this idea: rook a8 to a4, capturing the pawn. h5. Yeah, now the black king is approaching. This is how they played. And this is the last precise move, which attacks the pawn. And if white now takes on f3, it didn't happen, he played bishop b6. But if white now takes, there's rook f8, king here, and black takes the pawn with an equal position. In the game, he played bishop to b6, which is also very simple. Just a line like this is a dead draw. Rook endgame with equal material. So draw for Aronian. He maybe had some chances, but it was never really so obvious how he could improve. Okay, so let's do Carlsen Radjabov. We have a bishop b5 line in the Sicilian, the Rosso Limo, and e6 is Radjabov's main move. He played this already many times. Carlsen takes, and here with e5 tries to attack black's pawn formation. He wants to have some weak pawns to play against, and in fact this happens. This knight g6 is played, and now black's got an isolated double pawn, which is ugly, but in return black's got a very nice central formation. Here black has got 3 pawns on the 5th rank, and this is strong. He's really controlling lots of squares. And what's the weakness? Of course, it's the c5 pawn. And Carlsen plays in a very straightforward fashion. He attacks this pawn directly, even with this move. The problem with this is, of course, those 2 pieces are very far away from the king. And black, of course, you can see already, has got some tendencies to go against the king. So it will be a very sharp game. Radjabov played queen to e7, protecting the pawn. It was hanging after all. And now the question is, how does white make some progress here? I think what he wanted to do is, he wanted to attack the pawn on c5 once more with the queen, like this, from c3 or e3. The problem is, if you move the queen now, there's bishop d5, intending to damage your structure. This is why Carlsen played c4, just controlling the square. Yeah, rook d8. Logical opposition move. Rook against the queen. Queen e2. Getting out of the d-file. And bishop to c8. Yeah, and now it's really difficult for white to make any substantial progress. You only have one target. This is c5. And this is why Carlsen plays it so straightforwardly. He doesn't have a real other plan. Just attacks this. And Radjabov cannot afford to give it up, so he plays f4. Queen e4, right in the middle of the board. And now king to h8 by Radjabov, a good multi-purpose move, giving white, yeah, now a choice. What's white supposed to do here? What Carlsen did is probably not the best. It's maybe possible that white must play an h3 here, which is a rather ugly looking move, but it's maybe a necessary move. The idea is that bishop to g4 is a problem, and this obviously prevents it. Still, it is a move you don't like to make, because it's an attacking target in the long run. Black can even go rook f5 to h5 and try to sacrifice. It is dangerous, but maybe he needs to do it. The thing is, have a look at the game. He played rook d1, bishop g4 now in a pin, and white cannot really accept this pin for long, so he played rook to d2 out of the pin. And here Radjabov played in a very straightforward fashion, but it seems to be, yeah, just a good way to play. He took and attacked the queen with the knight to h4, simply attacking this piece. And what is the queen supposed to do now? Carlsen played the maybe most natural looking move, queen to e4, putting it just in the middle of the board, centralization. The problem with this move, it looks nice, but it loses. He really had to go to h3, maybe to g4, but queen to h3. The thing is, in comparison to the game, after f3, g3, knight g2, quite funny to put this knight on g2, white has got rook to e4. And now this is a very unclear position. I'm not quite sure how to assess it. The computer is not a big help. It just gives the typical 0, 0, 0. What I do believe is that probably white is still okay here. It looks a bit shaky with this queen on h3, but it cannot be trapped or anything. The thing is, the alternative, which is what Magnus played in the game, is just not working. f3, this is played by Radjabov. g3, no choice, and then knight g2. And then now the problem is, this rook is hanging, and what are you doing with this rook? If you move it away, which is normal, let's say rook d1, there's queen e6, and the fun thing is that this is really completely losing now. Queen h3 and a knight move, or knight to h4, queen to g2. This is not defensible anymore. White is simply dead lost. You cannot prevent all this. It's funny, this fianchettoed knight. But it's simply a matter of stranded pieces on the queen side. They don't help. So what did Carlsen do? He, of course, at this moment realized that he made a big mistake, but he defended as good as possible. He retreated the knight to maybe get it to e4. And exactly here, Radjabov had a very good chance to probably win the game. He could have taken now on e1, which he certainly considered. Queen takes, and now the very strong move bishop c7. Maybe he didn't see that one or misjudge something. The problem is you get the knight, the bishop to a5, and make sure that it gets traded against the knight or a rook, let's say. And the very bad bishop being exchanged on this way is a huge progress for black. This is just an exchange up. The problem is white doesn't get the knight to e4, which is the compensation. If you would put it there, then there's bishop a5, just winning another exchange. This is a bit too much. Okay, white can take c5, but it's simply winning. This move would have won the game, I think. What Radjabov played was also not bad at all. It's also very tempting. He played queen here to get this threat into the game, and this forces white to play the funny move rook e3. Again, sacrificing the exchange. He must play rook takes f3 and must have this possibility against queen h3. Yeah, and here Radjabov took the exchange. This is the right move. Takes with the pawn. A must, yeah. This is simply made. So he took with the pawn. And now Radjabov played the most obvious move in this position. Maybe it really was a mistake. He's an exchange up, and he always had the chance to play a normal slow move, continuing with the exchange up. Let's say bishop e7. Now there are many moves you can play, but he played f2 check, which is the most obvious move in the position. Just trying to get to white's king. This is also the move that, let's say, Svidler suggested when he saw this, and he called it the most natural move. So this is what Radjabov played, but the thing is, maybe it's not enough. There was this exchange, check, and then important, king e2, very important. If white would go to g1, for instance, there's queen f6, threatening, queen g2 and e4, and that's it. White can resign because of this line, amongst others, and it's a checkmate next move, or in two moves. The king must go here, exactly there. And okay, Carlsen plays the best possible defense, and by now it isn't so clear anymore what is happening here. Went here to attack the pawn, and white all the way back. Maybe this is what Radjabov didn't really appreciate, but here it is already not so clear what is happening in this position. White is probably okay again, because he's got this monster knight on e4 coming. Black doesn't really have much to do against this. He retreated, gave checks, and now he tried h5 as a last try, but Radjabov is also down to 1 minute. It's really shaky. Bishop back to b2, and here they went for this repetition. It's not possible for both sides to get out of the repetition, really. Black is too active, and white has no chance to do anything else. And black also must be careful. If you play some second-rate moves, you can easily get in trouble, because white has an excellent knight on e4 and a healthy structure. So at the end here, a draw was agreed, or this repetition occurred with the draw as the consequence. A good fighting game, but certainly disappointing for Radjabov, who had an excellent chance to win. And we see that Carlsen is not invincible at all. It's all very shaky still, this tournament. One bad day like this can easily cost important points, and maybe the desired spot at the end. Yeah, tomorrow there's of course the all-important game, Carlsen against Aronian. Both leaders face each other, with Carlsen playing white. And okay, this game is decisive. the winner will most probably be the next challenger. Of course, 6 rounds after that is something, but a win would be really huge. So you can look forward to that. I'm also curious to watch this live tomorrow on site. Yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. This time it really was a little bit shorter, but I'm really tired. And maybe next video tomorrow will be a bit longer. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon.